Hello, and welcome to No Place Like Home. This program is sponsored by the Housing Finance Authority of Pinellas County in cooperation with Pinellas County Communications and the Department of Health and Community Services. I'm Catherine Driver alongside Jane Merlin, your host for today's show. Hello, Jane. How are you today?
I'm doing well and hope you are too.
I am.
Do you consider yourself a pretty smart consumer?
I think so, but I think that maybe after today's show, I might have a few questions about that.
Well, I think that's true, and I'm real excited about today's show. We have a returning guest who's going to be joining us in just a moment, but our topic today is about consumer protection, being a better consumer, and we're going to have some great tips on things that we can do to ensure that we don't become a victim, hopefully. So really going to be an informative program ahead, and this would be a great time for those who haven't already grabbed a pen and paper to do so before we get started. And I am, again, pleased to be joining you on WRXB 1590 AM radio and, of course, Pinellas County Connection TV. Coming up in a few moments, we're going to be joined by Anna Marie Millet, and she is with Pinellas County Justice and Consumer Services. But before we get into our lively conversation today, Catherine, I know you have an update from our sponsor.
Yes, thank you. The Housing Finance Authority of Pinellas County is offering first-time homebuyers program called Your Key to Home Ownership, helping folks in Pinellas, Pasco, and Polk counties make their dreams of home ownership a reality. The first-time homebuyers program is for individuals who have never owned a home, have not owned a home in the last 3 years, or are veterans. The HFA offers a low rate on its 30-year fixed-rate mortgage, and if you need a little help with down payment and closing costs, we can help you with that also with the Home Key Second Mortgage. To get your key to home ownership, please call us at 727-223-6419 or visit our website at www.pinellascounty.org/HFA. To reach us for more information or comments about the show, call us at that same number that I just gave you, 727-223-6419, or email us at newhome@pinellashfa.com. You can also watch past shows on our website or catch us on YouTube. Jane?
Thank you for the great information, Catherine. And, we've talked before about the fact that the program that you all have is helping so many people because oftentimes people have the money that they can afford the monthly mortgage payment, but they might have not quite enough saved up and can't quite get there to come up with the full down payment or maybe the closing costs.
Exactly. So it's a really great program. Currently, our mortgage rate is at $399, which is a really great rate, and we're offering $10,000 of down payment and closing cost assistance. It doesn't amortize; it's due when you sell your home or refinance or move. So that's very good. And in conjunction with the down payment and closing cost assistance, the home buyers would need to take educational class, but it's a very good class that helps with budgeting and learning how to manage your money and manage your credit. And all of those are really great tips, and they kind of dovetail into today's conversation, I think, with Anna Marie.
I think that's an excellent segue, as a matter of fact. Yes. So thank you for the great update there. Again, our guest does have important and helpful information to share to protect us in quite a number of ways. And joining us from Pinellas County Justice and Consumer Services is Anna Marie Millet. She is an investigator and outreach coordinator with Pinellas County Justice and Consumer Services, and she works out of the Office of Consumer Protection. She's been with us before, and she always provides great information to help us be better and smarter consumers. Welcome back to No Place Like Home.
Thank you, Jane.
Thanks, Anna Marie. Let's begin by describing what your role is as an investigator. A lot of people might not realize that the county actually has investigators who do the kind of work that you do.
Exactly. As I do outreach, I find that a lot of consumers aren't aware of our department. We investigate business consumer disputes. Majority of the complaints that we receive are civil in nature, so we have investigators that are certified mediators through the Supreme Court of Florida, and they work with the parties to reach a resolution. It's an alternative to going to court, and our services are free. When we find that there are complaints that are violations of consumer protection laws, we have investigators that prepare the reports and work with the state attorney's office, who in turn prosecutes the individuals.
very good and very important work that you do that I actually understand has even resulted in criminal charges being filed against some of the actual people that you've investigated. Tell us about that.
Correct. Well, for example, unlicensed contracting is a criminal violation. So as said, we work with the state attorney's office. We have 2 assistant state attorneys assigned to our office to handle the cases. With the majority of them, they're going to receive some type of probation, and the benefit of that is the victims or the consumer, as a condition of the probation, will get restitution, be paid back the money that they're out of. Other ones, depending on the degree or if there's multiple victims, may experience or receive jail time.
Now, I know that you've worked on some pretty big cases, and some of them have had a pretty high profile. Can you give us an example or two of some of the cases that you've worked on that folks may have read about but didn't really make the connection that your office is actually who went after those individuals?
Well, as said, majority of the time the cases are going to start with our office, and oftentimes the ones that receive the high profile or attention, they're multi-victims, unfortunately. Through the years, we've seen some with pool contractors. There was a telemarketing company in Largo that we partnered with multiple agencies, and it was a group effort to close them down and pay back victims. There's been home improvement contractors through the years. So as I said, the ones that tend to get more profile are the multi-victims, but consumers need to be aware all the time of who they're dealing with so that they can avoid falling victim to these situations.
That's an interesting point that you bring up too, the fact that you're not actually out there all by yourself doing a lot of these. You actually have a lot of a lot of assistance from other agencies and resources. Who are some of the folks that you all work with?
Yes, we work with a lot of agencies from law enforcement, Federal Trade Commission, Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. Each agency has a different role, and working together, we make the biggest impact. So it's important to have those partnerships among the agencies. Doing
some great work together out there.
Thank you.
Right. So you were mentioning a few of the high-profile cases you have seen. What are some of the kind of types of cases that you see frequently that folks may not even realize is something that you're investigating, that's kind of prevalent right now that they may be victim to and they don't even realize it? And, by you mentioning it, they might, be able to contact your office.
Well, oftentimes con artists or scammers are looking for that opportunity, and that's what it is that opportunity for them to take advantage and separate you from your money. So a lot of times you see it depending on the time of the year. So with summertime, you're going to see more AC or water treatment scams. You may even see vacation rental properties. And then as the holidays are around the corner, you'll see overnight charities popping up that may be fraudulent, or other ways, websites that are selling items or gifts that are just too good to be true are capturing your information for identity theft. So consumers always want to be aware of who they're dealing with and when they're giving out information, what purpose is being used for.
Very good. What are some of the home improvement type scams that you've run across most frequently? I know, since we're working mostly with first-time home buyers or even renters, what are some scams that you've seen recently that would impact renters or homeowners?
Well, with renters, the important thing is get a copy of your documentation, your lease, read it and understand it. If there's any agreements, verbal is nice if you're friendly, but make sure you get in writing, because if things go wrong, you want to have that documentation. As far as home improvement scams, it's the same scams. They just take a different form as the years go on. Originally, it was individuals that would claim that they were doing work down the street at a neighbor's house and they have the materials left over. They can do the job for half the price. Or they would show you a picture of bad material, rotted wood, or even have a piece of rotted wood and show you and say, look at this damage we found on your roof. And the consumer doesn't know if it's their home or not. And that's how they get in to take advantage of them, to have them give them money to make repairs that may or may not be legitimate or even good. Now we're starting to see where they're posing as maybe utilities or cable. So anytime somebody's coming to your home, and especially with first-time home buyers, you may have a lot of people approaching you or soliciting you for services. So just be cautious of, if you did invite somebody out for utilities or cable, that they are legitimate and they're supposed to be there, or for any service at all.
Yeah, and certainly ask for identification in, and don't be shy to do so, I'm sure. So one of the things we've been hearing about on the radio, on the TV, it just seems to be bombarding us from every angle, is talking about free credit reports and all. Are there really any true free credit reports, or do you somehow always manage to get roped into paying something, and sometimes hard to get out of that?
There are a lot of different sites and companies that are offering it. When I have the TV on, there's some great jingles with these commercials, so it is easy to get lured into those. What you want to do is go to annualcreditreport.com, and that's through the Federal Trade Commission. And by law, consumers are entitled to a free credit report, one from each of the three major credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, each year. So they can request them all at once, or they can request them throughout the year, whichever is easiest for them. But they need to get in the habit, just like you check your bank statements or your credit card statements, to monitor your credit report. Make sure that the information on there is factual, it is current, and that it belongs to you.
Okay.
That's really important information. And maybe you can repeat that, the free credit source again. What's the one we want to use?
Annualcreditreport.com. And they can contact our department if they need more information or need the website or a phone number.
Oh, and while we're talking about that, what is your website for folks to get more information?
PinellasCounty.org/consumer.
Okay, great. Now, y'all are just talking about credit reports and the importance of that. And we know that people are still struggling. There's a lot of people who have not been able to recover from the economic downturn that we had. And so many people have been considering bankruptcy. And I know that you have some real important advice for people who might be in that position right now.
Bankruptcy, a lot of times people just want to wipe their debt clean. I think all of us do. But it is a drastic step, and it does require some things before you can file for bankruptcy. You need to speak to an approved credit counselor. You need to do debt education to make sure that there are other options. I call it the last resort option, because once you file bankruptcy, it is on your credit report for could be 7 to 10 years, and future creditors kind of shy away from loaning money to you. So it is a big step, and as I said, you are required to take some education and counseling prior to doing so to make sure that that is the option for you. Check through your county or even city. A lot of times they have free or at little cost services to help you assist with budgeting, managing your money, and relieving you from debt.
Well, that's a good point, because if somebody's in a dire strait financially, the last thing they need to do is pay out even more money to try to find a resolution to help them kind of get out of that hole that they're in.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, a lot of times it's an opportunity. So anytime we find ourselves in a desperate situation, individuals tend to take advantage of that. And that's another situation where they'll say, oh, we can help you. We can, wipe out. Anytime there's a 100% guarantee, that usually is a red flag that something's not right, or you're having to pay money out. If you're already in debt, that money can go to paying your bills as opposed to a third party that may or may not help you.
Mm-hmm. And Catherine, I have a question for you in talking about bankruptcy and the fact that it does stay on an individual's credit report for a number of years. How does that affect someone's ability to then be able to purchase a home?
Yeah, that definitely goes into the factors when you're trying to qualify for a mortgage, especially through the bond program. You still have to meet FHA or VA or Fannie Mae credit underwriting criteria, and that would definitely affect your ability. It might even affect your ability to be able to rent at some apartment complexes. It, is definitely a big deterrent and, a black mark that you would want to avoid at any cost.
Yeah, so folks that might be in a situation really need to heed those warnings and try to resolve those situations if at all possible. Which kind of leads into my next question for you, Anna Marie, and that is in regards to developing a budget. I know that some people may find that they just don't need to do one more thing. It may seem like a daunting task to try to figure out budgeting, but I know that you all in consumer protection are big proponents of developing budgets. Can you give us some advice or techniques on how we can get started and make it something that we might actually look forward to?
Well, the budgeting usually is a bad word. People don't want to hear it because you're faced with the reality of, okay, I might be spending too much money and I might actually have to sacrifice on some things. But it is very important. And a lot of times the debt, that's all it needs is just some budgeting and some sacrificing, sometimes just temporarily. So it's important to look at all your expenses, what you are spending money on. For me, it's eating out. And then what your income is, and to see where you can, tweak a little to save some money until you get ahead or pay off that debt. And sometimes it's very easy, but it's taking that first step to look at all the numbers. And a lot of people just don't want to face that. But once you do and you get on that budget, you get in the habit of it. And it's like anything else. And then you can start paying down that debt and get yourself in a good situation and get that credit score back up.
And, I think the reality of seeing your situation on paper before your eyes can be very telling and very enlightening. If you're starting to see a pattern of, gee, I'm going to the coffee shop every day and spending X amount of dollars on that every day. If I backed off on that and maybe did it once a week as maybe a treat or reward for something,
right.
And that small little step though, you could start maybe seeing some things where you'd start to realize, I'm saving some money and I can use that to do this now.
I mean, when you look at it, and you must be following me around every day because that's the coffee shop's another one of mine. But when you look at it individually, $3 here, $5 here, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But if you look, okay, this week I spent an additional $100 or $200, that is a lot of money. So if it can go towards something else and you can buy coffee and make it at home, that's a big savings. And like I said, sometimes it's little tweaking, going from the full package of cable down to basic. And I know a lot of individuals have a hard time understanding what a luxury is and what a need is. But once we put that in perspective, you can save a lot of money. And like I said, once you get that debt paid off, then you can start adding some of those luxuries back into your budget.
That's a really important point. And when we talk to potential home buyers, we also have that conversation with them too about the kind of home they want to purchase and what do you really need? Do you really need a 2-car garage? Can you get away with one? Do you really need the granite countertops? And
right.
you I'm sure have a lot of stories like that you can impart.
Yeah, so definitely the needs versus wants and all that's always very hard for anybody, regardless of, your status or what have you. That's hard for anybody to, deal with. I wanted to get back to something you were talking about earlier, though, with where folks might come to your door and offer you services, and as one scam that you have seen. And let's say you live in a neighborhood that has a no soliciting sign out front, but you're continually getting folks coming to you door to door. What types of things can consumers do about that?
Well, like a store or an individual, in order for them to stay in business, they have to make those sales. So if they're going into a neighborhood where you're not answering the door, which is, we teach our children, don't open the door to strangers. We need to heed that same advice. You're not answering the door, you're not purchasing, they're going to move on somewhere else. If they're continuing to come into the neighborhood, a lot of times there's homeowner associations that can address the issue. But a big thing is get to know your community police officer. There's usually one for every area, and they can come and patrol the area. Report to them what's going on. And if it gets very bad or there's an aggressive situation, definitely call the police and let them know that this individual doesn't belong there and needs to go.
Okay, well, that's good information.
But keep in mind with door-to-door sales, Florida law requires that they have a permit, the individual that's going door-to-door, if they're selling a product or service $25 or more. A lot of times they don't carry that permit. So that's something that consumers can check. But again, whatever they're selling, if you're going to purchase something, you want to research it first. So don't just buy because one person came to your door and it sounded like a great deal. Get that information, read it over, take some time to think about it before you jump into a situation. That's usually where your downfall is.
Right.
So how do people find out about those permits? If the individual who's coming to the neighborhood actually has a permit to be there and to do that?
Well, they should be able to provide that to them to show them. But the permit is obtained through the clerk of the court here in Pinellas County. So you can always call the clerk of the court. And again, if you're thinking of using this business or this individual, check with them as a resource to see, do they have the proper permit? Okay, that's one. If there's some type of licensing that's required for the service, check that as well. Complaint histories. Sometimes as simple as an internet search, put in the individual's name or the company. If somebody had a bad experience, it will be on the internet somewhere, I can guarantee you. So, and a lot of times that tells you a lot of things. So,
I didn't know about that permit. Did you?
I did not. That's very good to know. So, I'm sure that the next time somebody comes to my door, I'll be asking about it.
Definitely.
Well, and speaking of the door-to-door, a lot of people, a lot of homeowners are right now doing a lot of renovations. Oftentimes it's not affordable to be able to sell your home and move to a new one, so a lot of people are getting back into doing some renovations and things like that. And unfortunately, as you mentioned earlier, there have been some high-profile cases where individuals have been taken advantage of with some of the renovation scams. Can you talk to us about what do we need to be aware of? What can we do to better protect ourselves against being one of the people in one of your news stories?
Well, as I said, the advice we give our children, we need to listen to it ourselves. And the big number one advice is do your homework. If you're going to hire somebody, your home is one of your biggest investments. So you want to make sure your money is well spent and protect your investment. So definitely if you're going to hire somebody to do work in your home, majority of the work is going to require some kind of license, either through the county or the state. So check with the licensing agencies. And as I said, you can call our department. We can give you all that information. You want to check complaint histories. We have a database of complaints that we've received over the last 5 years. Check, see how many complaints we have against that company, if there were any criminal charges. And all that information compiled should help you make an educated decision of, who to hire. Get several estimates and compare the estimates. They should be apples to apples as far as the information. And, just checking out different companies and researching them before you hire someone will save you a lot of time and money.
And what I do too is I ask for references and I check on them. I had a major expenditure of replacing windows, unfortunately. Just one of those things as a homeowner you got to do the maintenance on. And I was able to, we interviewed quite a number of companies that did that kind of work, and then asked for references and then called those references and had conversations. And are you finding that people do that, or am I kind of an oddball for doing that? I mean, to me it seems like a natural thing to do, but I'm a little bit suspicious of people. So that's I think part of my nature. But wanting to be cautious and know who I'm doing business with, and if there was an issue, how did it get resolved, kind of thing. Are you finding that people are doing this, or should we be doing more of that?
We should be doing more of that, definitely. As a lot of times I have consumers that say, well, I asked for this from the company. I asked for their insurance coverage. I asked for their license number, and they weren't forthcoming with it. That's a red flag that something's not right. They work very hard to establish their business, and if they're legitimate, they want to show it off and give you all the information you need. But definitely as consumers, we need to follow up and check on it to make sure it is factual information and that it's current and that there's no problems with it. So ask for this information, and if they provide it, then double check it just to make sure.
And I think too, it could really save homeowners future headaches, because if you get somebody in to do some work and they're not legitimate, they may do such more expensive or extensive damage that's going to be very expensive. Now you're paying two people potentially to having to correct a problem of some unscrupulous individual.
Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we've seen where consumers put so much money to pay one contractor who's not doing what they're supposed to. And like you said, sometimes it causes more damage than it is repairs, that they don't have the money for a second contractor. So they're stuck with this problem until it gets resolved. And sometimes that can be timely, or it never gets resolved. So definitely, protect your home by checking out the individual that you're allowing to come into your home, even if it's a salesperson. A lot of times companies now will email you a picture of the person or tell you who's coming, name and information for your own protection. So you definitely want to check them out and the company, the individual, before you hire someone.
Very good advice. Now, we know, unfortunately, that there are still some folks in our community who are struggling and maybe facing foreclosure. And once again, it seems like every situation or issue that comes before us, there's always somebody out there who's looking to take advantage of somebody. And certainly foreclosures have not been immune to that. And so I know that you all have some real good advice for individuals who may be facing foreclosure.
Definitely. Well, when you're in foreclosure, it is public record. And unfortunately, there are individuals that will research these records and then solicit those individuals. So just because you get something that looks like it's on legitimate company letterhead or it's a bright colored flyer, it doesn't mean it's a legitimate company. So even though the situation may be a desperate moment for you, don't jump at the first company that you receive information from. And you will be bombarded with solicitations. Again, through your county or city, there's great services. There's HUD-approved counselors. There's legal assistance that a lot of times you can get for free or little money. But definitely speak with your lender. Communicate with them. When you close them off, they don't know what the situation is. And a lot of times these scam artists will tell you not to talk to your lender, and they cut off that communication for you. As said, that's a red flag. You want to keep that communication open and deal with them, let them know what the situation is, and they'll work with you.
And Catherine, from your perspective as an organization who assists homeowners getting mortgages, what are you finding in terms of foreclosure and the impact that can have? Is it kind of a similar situation to someone who has to file for bankruptcy if they've got a foreclosure on their records?
The foreclosure is certainly even worse, I think, on your record. Definitely you would have trouble even, being able to rent an apartment, because they'll be doing a credit check, and being able to get another home, getting another mortgage, would take quite a bit of time. To cure that foreclosure that's on your record. So, that would definitely be another case where it would need to be a last resort. And as Anna Maria said, make sure that you're working with folks who are reputable and are going to be protective of you and help you get through that process if that's really your only option.
Very important.
Well, we're starting to run out of time, so I just wanted to give you the opportunity to give your phone number and website and any other information, for folks if they have any consumer issues, so they know how to reach out to you.
Definitely. If anyone has any consumer issues or you're not sure who to turn to for assistance, give us a call. You can reach us at 727-464-6200 or on the website at pinellascounty.org/consumer.
And before we let you go, I wanted to let folks know you actually go out and do presentations to groups, homeowner associations, and other community groups, don't you, about a myriad of topics?
Correct. We give free presentations on a variety of consumer topics. They can contact me at the number I just provided or at the website and request a presenter, and we'll be happy to set that up for them.
Well, Anna Marie Millet with Pinellas County Justice and Consumer Services, thank you so much for excellent information. I know that I've learned a lot today, and I know that folks tuning in have as well. I certainly know that I work hard for my money, and I don't want to let it go that easily.
No, definitely not.
Thanks for helping us stay safe and protected out there. Want to give a great shout out to our friends with Pinellas County Communications Department and WRXB 1590 AM. And of course, we always enjoy hearing from you. We like to get the feedback from the folks who are tuning in. And a special shout out to one caller recently who contacted us and is on his way to becoming a first-time home buyer.
Yes.
Congratulations to you. Well done. And we'd like to help more of you out there who might be in need of getting your first home. And for other information and more feedback, give us a call at 727-223-6419 or send an email to newhome@pinellashfa.com. I'm Jane Merlin.
And I'm Catherine Driver.
Thanks for tuning in to No Place Like Home. Make it a great day.